In the heart of 19th century Kentucky, amidst the rolling hills and modest farms, a story of resilience and determination was unfolding. This is the story of Susan Elizabeth Tinsley Mundy, a woman whose life spanned some of America's most turbulent and transformative periods. Born in February 1849 in Flat Lake, Knox County, Kentucky, Susan Elizabeth Tinsley, known as Eliza, grew up in a world transitioning from enslavement to freedom. Her family, headed by Warwick Tinsley and his wife Mary, faced a complex reality, bridging two worlds marked by oppression and a relentless quest for freedom. Susan's life was shaped by a family legacy of survival and resistance. Her grandmother, Fanny Tinsley, was enslaved by William D. Tinsley Sr. around 1812. Fanny's children, fathered by Tinsley himself, were promised freedom and his will of promise unfulfilled by his heir. This betrayal led to a 6-year legal battle that defined the Tinsley family, culminating in a victory that granted them freedom, but only under the stipulation they must remain employed. Like many black people brought to Kentucky during the westward push of the early 1800s, Fanny Tinsley likely came from Virginia, or Maryland, regions known for their large enslaved populations and the migration of enslaved people to newer states. By 1869, at the age of 19, Susan sought new horizons, leaving the familial home in Flat Lick for the opportunities of Leavenworth, Kansas. Kansas, a free state with a developing economy and vibrant military presence, became a refuge for many African Americans seeking a fresh start after the Civil War. It was here, in Leavenworth, that Susan's path crossed with the Custers, General George Armstrong Custer, and his wife, Elizabeth Bacon Custer. Known to the Custers as Eliza, Susan served as both a maid and later a cook, becoming a source of comfort and support to Elizabeth, who often worried about her husband's military campaigns. Susan became known for her culinary skills, preparing dishes that combined her African-American heritage with the local frontier influences of Kansas. Her recipes for roast goose, hamburger steak, and vegetable dishes became family favorites, blending flavors that comforted and nourished both the Custer family and their military guests. As a cook in the Custer household, Susan Mundy would have been close enough to hear the heated discussions about military strategy and the latest reports from the front lines. The year was 1868, and General George Armstrong Custer, known for his aggressive and often controversial tactics, was preparing for yet another campaign against Native American tribes in the West. The infamous Battle of Washita River, which occurred just before Susan arrived, was a stark example of the violent methods used by Custer and his men. One of the most notorious campaigns during Susan's time with the Custers was the surprise dawn attack on the Cheyenne village at the Washita River in November 1868. Custer and his 7th Cavalry descended upon the sleeping village, killing men, women, and children indiscriminately. The destruction was complete. Tepees were set ablaze, and the survivors were left with nothing. This massacre happened just before Susan joined the Custer household, setting a tone of violence and fear that would resonate throughout her time there. Custer's approach to warfare extended beyond the Washita, reflecting a brutal policy aimed at subjugating Native American tribes. Campaigns often involved torching villages, slaughtering livestock, and leaving entire communities to starve in the harsh winter. Years later, the consequences of these brutal campaigns culminated in fierce resistance. On June 25, 1876, the 7th Cavalry, led by Custer, faced a united force of Lakota Sioux, whose Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. This battle, remembered as Custer's last stand, was an overwhelming defeat for Custer and his men. Custer, separated from his main force, was killed along with all his men. Some reports from the time claimed that Custer was scalped, although there is debate about the accuracy of these accounts. The Native American victory was a stark retaliation against years of oppression and violence. After leaving the Custers in 1875, Susan met Lafayette Mundy, a Buffalo soldier who had served in the 4th U.S. Colored Cavalry during the Civil War. He was of Cherokee, Mohawk, Dutch, and Black ancestry. They married in 1873, seeking new opportunities in the American West. Their journey took them to Chihuahua, Mexico, where they lived amidst the tumultuous salt wars a conflict over valuable salt beds essential to the region. In the rugged landscapes of Chihuahua, Susan and Lafayette witnessed the turbulent events of the Salt Wars, a conflict between local Mexican-American communities and Anglo-American businessmen over the rights to salt beds. It was here that their son, Thaddeus Mundy, was born in 1877, amidst the struggles and tensions of frontier life. By 1880, Susan and her family returned to Kansas, but the following years saw Susan separate from Lafayette and make her way to Helena, Montana. There she embarked on a new chapter of independence, operating a boarding house and speculating in mining claims, including the notable Winona Lode in 1893. A book titled Custer's Cooks and Maids stated that her 12-year-old son, possibly Henry, had ran away to Montana in 1880 to be a cowboy, and her desire to move to the state was inspired by the desire to be near him. Known sometimes as Elizabeth Miller, Susan faced challenges in her later years. She was committed to the Montana State Hospital in Warm Springs in 1918, where she spent her remaining years until her death in 1923. From Flat Lick, Kentucky, to the vast frontiers of the West, Susan Elizabeth Tinsley Mundy's story is one of courage, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. A woman who navigated through some of America's most challenging times, leaving behind a legacy that speaks to her strength and spirit.